Hello, good morning. Um, I just have, I'm laughing because I always have the urge to introduce myself. But you guys already know who I am. I'm Christina. And I'm wearing my mom here. I'm wearing my mom here this morning, which is also funny to me because I don't think I've ever done a vlog on a day when I was wearing my mom here. And I call it my mom here because with Izzy, I just drop her up and, she gets out of the car or whatever. But with Zoe, I have to actually take her into school. And she is the only chocolate chip in her class. She's one of very few chocolate chips in the entire school. She does have, there is a caramel chip in her classroom as well, but she's the only chocolate chip, and we do not want to scare anybody with mommy's normal militant natural hair, my big curly wigs and stuff that I like. And so on days that we have to, do that, we wear mom hair. Anyway, I have spoken a lot about how I wanted to do some things, film some videos basically that were more writing craft related, and not just me rambling about my books or whatever, even though I am going to be applying this to my book. But yeah, I'm not an expert. I'm certainly no expert. No, I'm very far from an expert. I just have things that that either worked for me or did not. And I'd like to share if that would, possibly be helpful. And so today I am talking about plotting, usually using these little note cards, these little multicolored note cards. And I am not a plotter by nature. Like, plotting does not come natural to me. I'm what they call a pantser, where you just kind of fly by the seat of your pants. You just kind of write whatever comes out. You don't know where you're going. You're just sitting down and doing it. That's typically what I do, which is okay. You have to find the process that works for you. And so I'm certainly not downing the pantsing process, because that's me that's me all day. But that works for contemporary romance for me. Like the Serendipitous Love series and the Trouble series, because that's just kind of it's just kind of more of a natural organic flow. I don't think nobody's getting shot or or chased down a busy highway, while they're trying to drive and getting the car shot up or anything like that. That's not happening. But in the If You Can series, in the romantic suspense series, things like that are very likely to happen. I think, no, I'm not going to say that because that's a spoiler. But things like that are very likely to happen in the romantic suspense series and in the mystery series that I want to write in the near future. And so for those series, I think that some plotting will be vital to making sure that I close all of the plot points, making sure that everything is cohesive, making sure that everything is coherent, and just making sure that we have a good story flow. So, note cards. Like I said, it's not just a natural thing for me to do plotting, and so I had to turn to Google. How the heck do I plot? Like, what am I supposed to do? And the method, obviously I found a lot of information on that, but the method that that resonated with me the most was using note cards or post-it notes, which I have as well. And for some reason, the post-it notes, I couldn't get started with the post-it notes this time. And so I went to the store for snacks and note cards. And so we went with the note cards. But for my books, like, it kind of plays in my head like a movie. Even before I've written down a single word, like, there are certain scenes that have already played in my head. I know those scenes are going to happen. And so what you do is the scenes that you know are going to happen, you write those down on note cards. And of course, as you're writing them down, more stuff is going to come to you, or whatever, the scenes that connect the ones that you already know. The connecting scenes will kind of come to you as you're doing it. And you don't have to have them all yet because, you know, more stuff will come as you're writing. But anyway, I used 4 different colors. The package had 4 different colors. My Post-it notes, if I had done right and just used my Post-it notes, I have 6 different colors that came in the pack on the Post-it notes. But anyway, I use yellow for scenes that are not my main characters, like for scenes that feature where we're going to hear from the bad guy, or not necessarily the bad guy, just other characters that are not my main characters. That's what the yellow cards are for. These pretty pink cards are for Naomi and Marcus. I used a lot of pink cards. That's not really a spoiler. We'll consider that an Easter egg. Just extra information. The green cards are for Redacted and Redacted. I can't tell you who those green cards are for. That will be a little surprise. I'll probably say it somewhere anyway. But for now, that's going to be a little surprise. These orange cards are for Kendall and Inez, or Quentin and Renata, because they have, out of the 4 couples that are in this book, Quentin and Renata and Kendall and Inez have the fewest scenes, and so they share the colors, since I only have 4 colors. But I did that, and I ended up with about 40 cards. Which is 40 scenes. And some of them are going to be combined. Like some stuff, you know, it's going to end up, like if I wrote down, you know, so-and-so talks to so-and-so here, and then, you know, something else happens, you know, that will be within one scene. And so some of those are going to be combined. But with all said, I ended up with about 40, and I sat down on the floor and I just arranged them, you know. Okay, this scene where this person does this is going to be kind of more towards the beginning of the book, so I'm going to put it up here. I know this happens way at the end, so I'm going to put this here. This excuse me, this card goes in the middle, or this scene happens in the middle, so I'm going to put this somewhere around the middle. And you just kind of, you know, plan it all out. And what you can do from there is you can take them to like a board like this that you can those are on there so haphazardly, but these are not the ones that I'm using. Those are actually Post-it notes. This is actually when I was trying to plot this book before, and I was not successful. But you can do that, or you can tape them to your wall, or you can just keep them in a stack beside your computer, but like, you know, in your workspace, or use a binder clip and bind them together so that you, excuse me, just have that easily available. But give me a second. I'm so sorry. Did y'all see that? I hope it did. I'm not going to tell the dirty joke that I want to tell. I'm going to keep it PG. But anyway, what I did was I set up an Excel spreadsheet, and I have a word count goal for this book. And I'm not like, whenever I have a word count goal, I typically go over it. And so I'm not expecting, and the goal for this one is 65,000. And it's 65,000. Catch Me was 66. Release Me was 72. And that's in thousands. Catch Me was 66,000. Release Me was like 72, 73,000. And so at minimum, I want Save Me to be at least 65,000 words. And so I plug that number in, and I already have about 22,000 words of Save Me written. And when I was doing my plotting, I included those scenes, and I know the word count for those scenes as well. And there's no specific, like I don't have a word count goal specifically for any of these scenes. I just know, you know, you go through and Word and you highlight it and it tells you how many words it is. And so I put those down in Excel, And I have my chapter 1, my chapter 2, my chapter 3 in one column, and then the next column is split into 3 rows for me to put, you know, this scene happens in this chapter, this scene happens in this chapter, this scene happens in this chapter, and then a word count for each scene, and then those numbers feed into a total word count for the document. And I have my goal, and then I have what my word count is so far, and I have a goal, and then I have, that calculates out, you know, my goal minus what I have leaves what I have left. And from what I have left, I have that number where it divides by the goal for what, you know, how many days I want to take to complete the book. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you guys what that number what that number is, but for me to complete the book by when I want to complete it, that is 3,000 words a day for the next however long, which is not unfeasible for me and that is considering, you know, a quote unquote typical day. And every day isn't going to be typical. You know, there might be some days when I get a 6,000 word day, and there might be some days when I get a 0 word count day, just because, you know, of life happening. But 3,000 words a day is extremely doable, and I'm excited because that means that I can have the book, you know, if I do that, I can have the book ready by when I would like it to be ready. And even if I don't, I can have it ready by when I said it would be ready, because those are not the same. Those are not the same number. When I give a date or a ballpark, I'm usually, you know, building in some time for non-typical days of writing, you know, because I don't know what might happen. If I'm home with Zoe, only goes to preschool on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And so if Zoe is not feeling well tomorrow, or if Zoe is particularly needy tomorrow, I might not be able to write 3,000 words tomorrow. I might not be able to write 3,000 words today, because today is an atypical day, because I taking time to, you know, to do the vlog. And in a little bit, I'm going to be filming the first episode of my podcast with Alexandra Warren for the site for the Girl. Have you read? I just love saying it like that. Girl, have you read so and so? Oh, you need to read that so we can talk about that. But but I'm really excited about that. And so today is an atypical day, and I might not write 3,000 words today, and that's totally fine, because I built in extra time for the days, you know, that I might not be able to do that. But hopefully, you know, something that since I'm rambling here at the end instead of rambling in the beginning, I see how I did that. But hopefully something that I've said has been useful. Maybe, hopefully. I might clean up my spreadsheet a little bit and make that. I'm getting a battery low notification, so I need to wrap it up. I might clean up the spreadsheet and make it available for any writers aspiring, not expiring. For any writers aspiring or otherwise, you know, who may want that. And it's my husband is the Excel person here. Like I'm techie, but not like that. Like my royalty spreadsheets and stuff that I use to, you know, to calculate and forecast and all of that. My husband built all of that for me. Like I don't do that, but my spreadsheet is rudimentary. It's very rudimentary, but it works. It works for what I wanted to do. And so I might clean it up and make it look pretty and have him look at it and see if he'll be gracious enough to give me some suggestions, because that's what typically happens. I'm like, hey, look at this for me. And he's like, why'd you do this? Like, why'd you use this for it? You should use this for it. This is better. And while we're at it, let's add this. And maybe this will be good too. So we'll see. What he says about my spreadsheet, and clean it up and see if we can make that available for anyone who may want to use it. And yeah, that's it. Hopefully I can eventually get to a point where my videos are not 15 minutes long and we kind of pray over this podcast. But with a podcast, I have, you have more time. We're aiming for, 45 minutes to an hour. And hopefully we keep it under that. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and let this go because I want to ramble some more. I really want to ramble some more, but I shouldn't. And so I'm going to let this go, and thank you for watching. Bye.